We speculate here, not just here on this channel, but in the college football world all the time about teams that might leave the conference. And typically that is trying to level up, right? They're trying to leave the conference voluntarily to go to greener pastures. But could a Big 12 school or Big 12 schools be in jeopardy of being forced to leave because of finances? One Big 12 athletic director spoke on that very, very candidly this week, and I appreciate him doing so. I would say he's one of the better Big 12 athletic directors that we have doing it right now in the conference. Okay, so let's lay the groundwork here for those who are uninitiated here. Revenue sharing era is coming as long as a judge will pass this, which, has been a bit of a holdup right now. The roster limit currently one of the things that is really holding that up in court. But eventually, we do anticipate that being approved. And then every school, the table stakes immediately become 20 million plus just to be at the major Power 4 level. If you want to have a chance to compete at the Power 4 level, you're going to have to revenue share $20+ million with your student athletes every single year. And by the way, that price will continue to go up as more revenue is generated. Now, there are different lines of thought on what it will take beyond that. If NIL is going to actually be doled out at fair market value, if teams are going to start going backhanding cash under the table, that all remains to be seen. But we know that table stakes will be at least $20 million per year. So that's a number that everybody can really operate off of. It doesn't guarantee you anything. It does not guarantee you success. But if you want to have the opportunity to just be in the room where success can be obtained, you're going to have to pay that money. Okay. So that's what everybody's dealing with. Now, Jamie Pollard, who is the athletic director at Iowa State, did a YouTube interview with Elijah Moore. And deep into this interview, I think it was Jack Trice Mafia, shout out to them, that I saw on Twitter, that had passed around this clip and started. I would not have found this, I'll put it that way, if not for them. So I appreciate that. Good aggregation there. And it is a great, long, full interview, so you can go check it out on Elijah Moore's YouTube channel. But he was talking about the realities of this situation. And if I was interpreting this correctly, this is not like a sports guy by trade that was interviewing him. So I think Jamie Pollard, knowing that he was speaking to perhaps a different audience than like a lot of us who are sports crazed and we all understand the situation, we talk about this all the time, I think that helped in the way that he described this and partially why we got such a candid answer. He's talking about the revenue sharing money, and he says, quote, this is Jamie Pollard, Iowa State athletic director, says, quote, Iowa State does not have that $20 million. Okay. Iowa State does not have that $20 million. But if we don't pay it for this coming year, we've got big problems, right? So we're going to pay it. That's basically, in a nutshell, what most schools are facing right now. At least schools that don't have a Cody Campbell, schools that don't have, for instance, the donor base built up that like a BYU would have. Pollard adds, now because of tremendous financial discipline and everything we've worked on over the last 20 years, our athletics program had a pretty substantial cash reserve that we built up, and we used that reserve during COVID. So we didn't cost Iowa State, we didn't cost the student body, we didn't cost the Board of Regents a dime to get through COVID, which, that is something not a lot of places can say. Not every athletic department had been that fiscally responsible. That's clearly a point of pride with Jamie Pollard. You can see it in that answer, and that is absolutely helpful and impressive that Iowa State was able to do that. He's also quick to, right after this, rolls in a little bit of a jab at the rival at Iowa. So the University of Iowa athletics program got a $60 million loan from the university. Now they haven't paid a dime of that back yet, but they got a $60 million loan. We did not take a loan, and we funded it from our reserves. You're starting to see he's building the case now for like why you're going to have to dip into some of this. This will probably be some of the answer. If it's not going to be private equity or private capital, you are then left with these options like, okay, do we throw a student fee in there to pay for this? Do we take out a loan from the university? How is this going to work exactly? It will take something like that, because what is not an option if we want to stay competing at this level and stay in the conference is to find this $20 million. So Pollard says, quote, "We can't fund the $20 million. In about 2 years, we'll be out of the reserve." So he's saying the timeline is like T-minus 2 years. You like Rocco Becht? T-minus 2 years to being able to hang on to a guy like Rocco Becht. Or if we don't have the money and we can't revenue share at that level, then he's going to get plucked away by somebody or the next Rocco Becht, whoever that might be. Okay. And he is right, by the way, that it is an accomplishment in some ways to have not dipped into the university or student fees or anything like that yet. Like if you go around the Big 12, I mean, for instance, made a lot of headlines that Arizona got $36.2 million in subsidies from the university for the 2024 fiscal year alone. So Jamie Pollard's talking about $20 million for revenue sharing. Arizona's athletic department was in such a tough spot that they needed $36.2 million in subsidies. So, I mean, we can really get up there really fast with the cost of college athletics these days and what everybody is facing. Now, I realize some of this is, we've astronomical coach salaries, crazy buildings, and the money that's at it. I understand that athletic departments in some ways have done this to themselves. The NCAA has done this to itself, but it is still the reality many are facing right now. So here's kind of the bottom line from Jamie Pollard. He says, so Iowa State University will be faced with an athletics program with an huge annual deficit if it wants to stay in the Big 12 and if it wants to have a Power 4 athletics department. Now, we can just decide that we want to have an athletic program like Northern Iowa, but that's going to have a huge economic impact on the state, on Central Iowa, on the city of Ames, and on this institution. So that's the problem that we're staring at. So, I mean, it does not get more real than that. Like, that is real talk from Jamie Pollard. Iowa State's going to have a deficit every single year with this $20 million hanging over our head. And we can either pay it and stay in the Big 12 and stay as a Power 4 athletic department and stay making Sweet 16s and Big 12 championship games, or we can not borrow money from the university or not take a student fee from the student body, and we can just be Northern Iowa and the entire local economy will be affected. And it will have a massive impact on the city, the state, and everything. And he mentions the institution, like that's part of it too. If you're the school looking at this, like, yeah, it's going to have a big impact on you. And I know this is like a kind of a controversial point in some ways that he's bringing up, because you'll get people around the university. Like if you're going to talk about taking money from the students or whatever it might be, you'll get a lot of students that don't care about sports. And they'll be like, well, I don't want to do this. I don't care about sports. Don't take my money for sports, whatever the student fee is going to be. I don't know. You'd have to do the math on that. If you have like 30,000 students, how much money are you having to take from each one to get up to $20 million? I don't know exactly what that answer is. But if you're having to pay that fee, that's going to help you out even if you don't care at all about athletics. Athletics are the front door to the university. It kind of gives you a stake as a big-time university, which is going to result in more opportunities for you on campus. Inevitably, that all flows through that way, right? Like I'm a K-State guy. I definitely know the whole story about 1989. K-State's thinking about dropping football, the worst football program in the country. Admissions go up. Everything with the university improved a bunch because Bill Snyder walked through those doors and reinvigorated the football program. It can have a huge impact on the university. Obviously, the local economy. I mean, you think about this, like either Ames and Iowa State finds a way to pay $20 million, or same with like Manhattan, Kansas, Stillwater, Oklahoma, whatever it might be, or the entire local economy tanks. I mean, multiple different economies are built around all of this. Even think about, obviously, yes, sort of what I do, but people that do what I do, but full time for a living, people who have the job that I used to have. That's an entire economy in and of itself that crumbles. The bar scene, restaurants, like that whole, there's always a huge deal made when somebody gives up a home game. I've certainly seen it with K-State. I know it happens with others. If you give up a home game for some reason to go play a neutral site, like you'll always hear the complaining about, and I get it, it's legit complaining about, man, well, what does this do to the local economy? You're taking away a home game. That's a lot of money that these businesses are missing out on. Well, what if all of a sudden you become Northern Iowa instead of Iowa State? Instead of playing for a Big 12 championship, now you're in, I guess, maybe the FCS playoffs. That's a big difference, man. That's a big difference in an entire local economy. So you got to find a way to pay this $20 million. And it feels like a lot of this is Jamie Pollard just kind of laying the groundwork for like what is to come and what's going to be necessary. And if you want to call it that, like a necessary evil here for Iowa State to keep doing what they're doing. Now, Jamie Pollard also, I think, is in a good situation right now because he's got as much leverage as you could possibly have based on the success of the sports programs there right now. I mean, this is like the golden era of Iowa State athletics. So nobody wants to see that go, right? You got to keep that around, man. You got to keep that around. And I think that helps drive the point home of like, hey, this is the reality that we're facing. Like, I don't think that this is some serious threat that they would drop down to being like Northern Iowa, but it is the reality, and it is helping get more people on board with this idea. You got to put it to them in plain terms. Now, look, I way fewer problems to deal with on this front than Jamie Pollard does, but it reminds me of when we first started talking about private equity and private capital in the Big 12, having those conversations. I was like, look, guys, like the reality is either you get involved with that or kiss Jalen Daniels, Avery Johnson, Cam Scadaboo, Sam Levitt, kiss those guys goodbye starting in a couple of years whenever we hit this revenue sharing thing and it goes full speed. Now, I guess Jamie Pollard's laying out a couple other options here, but if you don't have some cash infusion, I mean, that very well could be your reality. It's not enough to just say, hey, we need this money to pay the revenue sharing number. No, what does that actually mean? What are the consequences of that if you don't do it? Well, then you're not a major athletic program anymore. Well, then your star players are all going to get plucked away. That's the way that you have to frame it. So it's pretty smart. I think, the way that Pollard did all of this. Now, the last quote that I'll give you, he lays out a couple other things that are happening across the country. Jamie Pollard said, quote, Arizona State has put $50 million back into the athletics department on an annualized basis, okay? $50 million, 50. You pick the program, I can tell you what the number is. Iowa State's is zero because that's the Board of Regents policy. So what would you feel as a fellow student if Iowa State did what Virginia Tech just did? Virginia Tech implemented a student fee that's generating close to $20 million per year, and they're going to use that fee to pay their student athletes. So again, that to me, I mean, look, I know the students are already paying way too much. I get it. The debt, it's a real thing that you come out of with it. And, job market can be tough. It's tougher to make as much. I understand all of those things. But academically, like if you want the school to stay having the same opportunities that it does, you need to fund athletics like this, or else there will be a real big step back. Or even just, I don't know, do you like all the restaurants in town? Do you like the bars in town? If you're a student, do you hang out at restaurants or bars or retail stores that you have? Because you're not going to get as much business. You're not going to get as many things there if you are Northern Iowa instead of Iowa State. No offense to the Panthers. Okay. So I appreciated this. I appreciate how candidly Jamie Pollard spoke about this. I think it is a real reality that's facing a bunch of schools. I mean, he just rattled some of them off there. We mentioned both the Arizona schools between myself and him today. Beyond that, Virginia Tech doing the student fees thing. Like these are all schools that are very much in the same boat. But that's the deal. Do you want to be FCS or do you want to be Power 4? That's what you got to do. So good stuff. Again, if you want to go watch the whole interview that is on Elijah Moore's YouTube channel, you can see it on my Twitter timeline too. I retweeted the link in the video, I believe, from Jack Trice Mafia. So you can go find that. It's at JL Kurtz on Twitter.